You won't believe what happened when the neighborhood HOA Karen decided to take things way too far by parking not one, but two huge trucks right inside my garage without asking. Imagine walking up to your own home only to find it completely blocked, and not by accident. This wasn't just a simple mistake or a minor inconvenience. Felt like a full-on invasion of personal space. My grandpa, who's always been the calm and wise type, didn't just stand by and watch. Instead, he did something no one expected. He locked her in. Yes, locked her in. And then, things got even more intense when he called the cops fast, making sure the situation didn't spiral out of control. This story is about more than just two trucks or a locked garage. It's about boundaries, respect, and how far people will go when those lines get crossed. HOA rules can be tricky, and sometimes they bring out the worst in people. But this situation took a wild turn, involving family, community tensions, and some serious questions about what's fair. You'll hear about the standoff, the back and forth that followed, and why my grandpa decided that locking someone in was the only way to get through to her. I'm going to share everything. From the moment we saw those trucks to the unexpected showdown that followed, and what happened when the police showed up. But here's the thing, this is just the beginning. The story isn't over, and there's a lot more drama to come. Did the cops take sides? How did the HOA Karen react after being locked in? And what's going to happen next? Stick around because you won't want to miss how this all unfolds. Trust me, this one is crazier than you'd expect. It all started a few days before the trucks showed up. Our neighborhood had been dealing with some issues around the HOA. Nothing too serious at first, just little disagreements about parking, spots, and lawn rules. But one person seemed to take those rules a bit too seriously. The infamous HOA Karen. She had a reputation for being strict and confrontational, always watching what others did and quick to report even the smallest thing to the HOA board. Most of us tried to avoid conflict, but she seemed to thrive on it. Then one afternoon, my grandpa pulled into the driveway only to find his garage completely blocked. Two big trucks were parked side by side inside, leaving no space to get his own car out. The worst part? No note, no explanation. Just a clear message that someone was pushing boundaries. Grandpa knocked on the truck's windows, trying to figure out whose they were. It didn't take long before HOA Karen appeared, acting like this was perfectly normal. Like she owned the place. Grandpa's usual calm didn't last long. He asked her to move the trucks right away, but she refused. Instead, she started blaming him for some minor HOA rule she claimed he had broken. Things got heated, neighbors began to gather, and the tension grew. Everyone could feel that this wasn't just about parking anymore. It was about power, respect, and who controlled the neighborhood. That's when Grandpa made the unexpected move. He locked a garage door, trapping the trucks and Karen inside. It wasn't about punishment. It was about making a point. The crowd was silent, unsure what would happen next. The air was thick with tension as Grandpa pulled out his phone to call the police. Would the cops understand his side? Or would Karen turn this into something worse? The story was far from over. This small neighborhood drama was about to explode in ways no one saw coming. After Grandpa locked the garage door, the atmosphere shifted. Neighbors who had been watching from their yards now gathered closer, whispering among themselves. Some sided with Karen, saying she had every right to park there because of HOA regulations, while others felt Grandpa was standing up for basic respect and personal space. The neighborhood, once peaceful, was suddenly split right down the middle. Karen wasn't quiet about it either. From inside the garage, she started shouting, accusing Grandpa of harassment and threatening to call the HOA board herself. She claimed this was all a misunderstanding, that she had permission to use the space, though no one else seemed to believe her. Meanwhile, Grandpa stayed calm but firm, explaining he wasn't trying to cause trouble, he just wanted his garage cleared. It felt like neither side was willing to back down. Then came the subplots that made everything messier. Some neighbors whispered about a long-running feud between Karen and my family. Years ago, there had been a dispute over property lines, and it seemed Karen never forgot it. Others pointed out that the HOA board was known for being inconsistent, enforcing rules only when it suited them, which made things more confusing for everyone. Meanwhile, Grandpa's health was a concern for a few. Locking someone in might seem extreme, and some worried about what it could mean for him if things got out of hand. The police arrived soon after the call, and their presence only raised the stakes. Officers started asking questions, trying to figure out who was right. Karen was quick to tell her side, painting Grandpa as aggressive, while he stuck to his story about being blocked and ignored. The tension was thick, and neighbors watched nervously, unsure how the situation would be handled. No one wanted the conflict to escalate, but it felt like the calm was only temporary. As the officers deliberated, the larger issues remained unresolved. Would the HOA step in with a clear decision? Would the neighbors pick sides and deepen the divide? And most importantly, what would happen next with Karen trapped in the garage, the trucks blocking the way, and Grandpa standing his ground? The story was far from over, and the real drama was just beginning. The tension around the garage was almost unbearable now. The police were still there, trying to make sense of the situation, but neither Grandpa nor Karen seemed willing to back down. Karen's voice grew louder, accusing Grandpa of abuse and demanding the officers force him to unlock the garage. Grandpa, meanwhile, stood his ground, refusing to give in until the trucks were moved and his garage was cleared. The neighbors were on edge, some whispering about what could happen next, others silently hoping the conflict wouldn't turn violent. Then the HOA board president unexpectedly showed up, stepping into the middle of the crowd with a clipboard in hand and a stern look. Everyone fell silent. She was the person who had the power to either calm things down or make them worse. She started reading from the HOA's parking rules, pointing out where each side had broken the regulations. But it wasn't as simple as it sounded. The board's rules were vague in some places, and the way they were enforced seemed uneven, which only added fuel to the fire. Karen argued her case fiercely, while Grandpa reminded everyone that blocking someone's garage was not only disrespectful, but dangerous in case of emergencies. As the sun began to set, the standoff reached a breaking point. The police officers exchanged looks, knowing they had to act soon before things escalated further. Karen's frustration was visible. She was pacing inside the garage, banging on the truck windows, trying to get someone's attention. Grandpa was calm but tired, standing by the locked door with a mix of resolve and worry. Some neighbors started taking videos, their phones capturing every moment as the crowd grew restless. Suddenly, a loud voice cut through the tension. It was my mom rushing over with urgent news that could change everything. What she said made everyone freeze, and you could feel the weight of what was coming next. The situation was about to explode in ways no one had expected, and no one was sure how it would end. The whole neighborhood was holding its breath, waiting to see what would happen when the next move was made. Just as everyone was caught up in the tense standoff, my mom's words hit like a thunderclap. She revealed that she had received a message from another neighbor, someone who had secretly recorded a private conversation between Karen and a member of the HOA board. The recording wasn't flattering. It suggested that Karen had been given special permission to park those trucks in our garage, but only because she was helping the board with a controversial new plan to limit parking for most residents. Suddenly, what looked like a simple neighborhood dispute turned into something much bigger, a power play within the HOA that affected everyone. The crowd murmured, shocked and confused. Some neighbors looked betrayed, others defensive, as the idea that the whole HOA might be involved in unfair favoritism began to sink in. Karen's confident posture faltered for the first time, and you could see her scrambling for a new way to justify her actions. Grandpa's expression hardened. He wasn't just fighting for his garage anymore. Now, it felt like a battle against an unfair system that had been quietly controlling the neighborhood. At that moment, one of the officers announced they had to make a decision quickly. The situation was escalating beyond a simple parking dispute, and they couldn't keep the garage locked indefinitely. Tensions rose as everyone realized the police might have to tow the trucks or take other actions. That could upset both sides even more. Karen's frustration turned into desperation, and she started demanding the officers take immediate action against Grandpa, claiming he was harassing her and violating HOA agreements. Meanwhile, whispers spread about other residents who had faced similar problems but were too scared to speak up. The quiet neighborhood, once peaceful, was now a powder keg of resentment, secrets, and fear. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the unresolved conflicts hung heavy in the air. Everyone knew the next few minutes could change the neighborhood forever, but no one knew exactly how. The story was reach. The police took a deep breath, weighing the chaos around them. After a tense discussion, they decided the best way to calm things down was to open the garage and tow the trucks to a nearby lot, making sure nobody else was trapped. As the garage door slowly lifted, Karen stepped out, her face a mix of frustration and defeat. Grandpa stood firm, but you could tell the whole ordeal had drained him. The officers explained that blocking someone's garage was against the law, regardless of HOA rules, and Karen would face a fine. It was a clear message that personal boundaries mattered more than neighborhood politics. But just when it seemed like the conflict was finally settling, an unexpected twist hit everyone hard. One of the officers pulled out their phone and played the recording. My mom had mentioned the secret conversation between Karen and the HOA board member. The recording revealed that Karen had been pressured by the HOA to stir up trouble, to create a distraction while the board pushed through a plan to raise fees and restrict parking for almost all residents. The board member's voice was cold, admitting they hoped the chaos would intimidate people into accepting the changes quietly. The crowd gasped. Suddenly, the real enemy wasn't just Karen or Grandpit, was the corrupt system hiding behind the HOA's rules. Neighbors who had felt powerless before began talking openly, sharing their frustrations and fears. Karen's defiance crumbled, and she admitted she had been caught in the middle, pressured by the board but unwilling to back down. In the end, the HOA board faced immediate backlash. A special meeting was called, and the neighborhood came together like never before to demand transparency and fairness. Grandpa's bold stand had sparked something bigger: fight for respect, honesty, and community. But as the dust started to settle, one final surprise emerged. The recording mysteriously disappeared from the officer's phone, erased without explanation. No one knew how or why. The neighborhood was left wondering, was this really over? Or was there still something deeper, hidden just out of sight? After the recording vanished, the neighborhood was left with more questions than answers. But what mattered most was how everyone responded. The tension didn't disappear overnight, but Grandpa's stand had sparked a conversation long overdue. Neighbors who had once stayed quiet began coming forward, sharing stories of unfair treatment and unclear HOA rules. The community started pushing for changes, demanding transparency from the HOA board and better communication about neighborhood policies. Grandpa became a symbol of standing up for what's right, not by starting fights, but by defending personal space and respect. Even some who disagreed with his method admitted that sometimes you have to take a bold step when boundaries are crossed. As for Karen, she eventually apologized to Grandpa and the neighbors, explaining she had felt trapped by pressures from The HOA and didn't know how else to handle the situation. It wasn't an excuse, but it helped many understand her side too. The HOA board was forced to hold a special meeting open to all residents. They agreed to clarify parking rules, ensure fair enforcement, and create a transparent process for resolving disputes. Slowly, trust began to rebuild, though not without some lingering wariness. The whole incident became a reminder that community isn't just about rules, it's about respect, fairness, and listening to one another. Looking back, it's clear. This wasn't just about 2 trucks in a garage or even 1 locked door. It was about standing up for what's right, facing challenges with courage, and working together to fix bigger problems. The drama showed how quickly small conflicts can grow, but also how they can lead to positive change when people choose to come together. If there's one thing to take away from this story, it's that respect matters, and sometimes it takes a little courage to protect it.